example. So I thank you both for your presentation. We're going to enter now in the fire chat discussion. It's a system, we're going to have a series of questions for you. You have 2 minutes each to answer the question. I kindly ask you to stick with the time so that we have enough time for our final Q&A. I invite you, our public, to write, the participants to write the questions you have in the chat. Please write your name as well so that we know where, who is asking this question. And we're gonna collect a couple of questions, for the end of our discussion. So let's start. We heard about, the ocean economy as an opportunity, but at the same time as a challenge in a way. So where do you think is the ocean economy today, and where it must go in order to thrive, while at the same time contributing to ocean sustainability and ocean protection? Hank first.
Okay, very good. I was carefully waiting my turn. So thank you for the question. I looked up that the ocean economy is actually, projected to increase to $3 trillion by the end of the decade. So that is an immense amount of value, of course. Now, recognizing that the ocean economy does depend on healthy oceans, of course, but there's many threats that are facing it currently, which is basically decreasing the biodiversity, and also we're seeing this increased pollution, which you think I showed firsthand. And I think we need to tackle all aspects of that ocean health element. And for plastic, this does mean reducing the additional pollution, like I mentioned with the rivers, and removing the existing pollution. And I do believe a similar approach is required for the ocean economy to continue to thrive. We must, develop sustainable solutions, like mentioned before. This will reduce the threats to the ocean, but we also simultaneously must remediate the damage which is already done, because I think only then we can get to a thriving economy there. And we do recognize that in our space specifically, what is missing is we see also incentives here, which we're very grateful for, but really for the larger cleanup, the incentives for greater action and collaboration to restore the ocean would be very welcomed there. And I think this ongoing development for a plastic treaty to end plastic pollution, for example, including in the marine environment, of course, is a crucial step for filling that gap. So ultimately, it is about making sure we continue technology development, but also making sure we restore the health of the oceans to make the blue economy thrive.
Perfect. Thank you. Lisa.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Thanks for taking a lot of my talking points. No, I was just going to maybe add kind of a different perspective. I wanted to mention that it's now, it's the UN Decade of Ocean Science, and I think we're really seeing much more attention to ocean science, and there's much more investment in the ocean happening, and technologies are also really developing at a rapid pace. So there's also been much more attention to like monitoring and compliance, or things like, ESG reporting, etc. So I think that's a really positive development from over the past few years. But I think what needs to happen now is for the industries and society to really make the shift to, not just what we call sustainable blue economy, but the sustainable and regenerative blue economy. So, I mean, just like Hank said, we also really have to focus on remediating the damage that is already done. So really focusing on sustainability across the supply chain.
Super. I mean, that was very, very interesting. I mean, talking about sustainable and regenerative blue economy, there was something kind of a nice concept that we need to take through. I'm going to make sure that you're the first now for the second question. As you are actually an alliance of different sectors that you're trying to accompany towards ocean sustainability, looking ahead in terms of the shape of the ocean economy, which activities do you think we should prioritize in this effort of transformation, sustainability, and regeneration? Which should be reimagined and, even, stop?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say that any ocean sector should be stopped. Of course, that's not what all of our members would like to hear. But I think it is becoming much more obvious that the way things have been going, and kind of the traditional way for instance, of fisheries or even of aquaculture, of shipping, they really need to be readdressed and kind of rethought. But of course, we're always going to need shipping. We're always going to need fisheries. Ocean energy, of course, is a very big one. But I think the key word here is reimagine, right? So even when you think about something like tourism, and you have, large cruise ships, that is probably not going, hopefully won't be the future anymore. I mean, I think that's something that we can say. Also, aquaculture, for instance, I mean, it was mentioned before in a presentation, IMTA, we really think is the future. So to have these really recirculating systems. Another example could be, coastal infrastructure, where we used to build really with gray and with cement. I think now there's kind of been a systemic shift in thinking about how can we work together with nature and have these nature-based solutions and these artificial reefs that are not damaging to the sea bottom either. So I think it's, the key term really here is reimagining ocean sectors.
Thank you. That's definitely a key word in terms of maybe, not stopping sectors, but having these sectors, to reinvent themselves or even, to readapt. Hank.
Yes, yeah, I can't go against anything Lisa said, of course. Well done. So what sparks my mind is, like, in the sentence already, it must be protected at all costs, emphasizes the importance of it. It is the lifeline of our oceans and the marine ecosystem, and they drive quite a bit of the ocean economy. And what we specifically see in the areas which we operate, which I showed on the map, a large source of income and food for these millions of people that live there comes from these marine ecosystems. And that's something that, we already have solutions for this, like we're showing you, but we actually, more support, whether it's via regulations or scaling with existing solutions, can create that impact. Because we see, for example, specifically with the plastic pollution, which is, of course, our focus area, is, the harm it does on the wildlife, coral reefs, mangroves, the overall health of the ocean itself. Even countries which depend on tourism, for example, I don't think it's a secret that in Bali, people always come back and are shocked by the amount of plastic which is washing around there. We really need to bring this further. So protecting at all costs, 100%, and reimagining that part, I think I would also heavily endorse. There's a lot of sustainable solutions already out there. Lisa mentioned a few already in certain sectors. And if we could actually lift this and scale this to a level, we can have a credible impact. You also mentioned which should we consider leaving behind. The first thing I thought they're leaving behind is actually nature as it should be. So the areas where we are doing well, let's definitely make sure they keep doing well and leave behind healthy oceans. But yeah, reimagine the areas where we need to do better and take action to do so.
Thank you. Very inspiring. And talking about reinventing the area, the recent BBNJ, I mean, it's the treaty that with 60 countries ratifying has recently reached its threshold, to enter into force by January 2026, will make an effort in sustainably manage, areas beyond national jurisdiction. So kind of balancing the interest of different economic sectors while protecting marine biodiversity. How does your organization see this framework, and how can we make it really effective in that context? Lisa. Sorry, Hank.
Yeah, it's my turn again. Yes, so we, of course, very much welcome this. This is a very positive signal that, states can collaborate, and specifically the high seas, this area which not necessarily is owned by a certain country. It is great to see that the importance of that is recognized. So we definitely see this as a significant positive step forward in protecting marine biodiversity. In that space, the plastic pollution is seldom discussed in relation to these marine protected areas when we do go to the more global area. And we do see specifically that, again, this plastic problem doesn't look at country boundaries as such. So actually people collaborating, coming together to do this is a very great thing. And we do believe that coming back to this plastic treaty element, which has, of course, been in the news and is making progress, but not yet quite hitting home as we would like it to, is one of these great initiatives that can help actually beat the threat against biodiversity by thinking about this no borders type of approach. So we really support this initiative, and we believe, to make it effective, it needs to go hand in hand with other international environmental agreements, specifically this one, and again, highlighting that plastic treaty. And then we can also consider measures there which we enforce and endorse more to be implemented to solve this global problem.
Wow, even before the end of the time. So thank you. Very concise, but extremely to the point in even, in the connection of, different treaty. And we hope really that the Global Plastic Treaty will finally, see the light in an ambitious way, because that's also the second point that we want, the treaty to be effective in halting, global pollution globally. Lisa.
Yeah, once again, I think Hank made some really great points that I won't repeat, but maybe, global policy is a really slow-moving beast, right? You see it with the plastics treaty, you see it with the BBNJ agreement, but maybe it's important to also kind of not lose sight of other important policy and regulations. There's national regulations that we can develop, sectoral or even local. So it's not just about the big global kind of attention-grabbing policy documents, but there's also other levels of policy that we can influence. And of course, I will make the point again that it's really important to involve the industry also in the implementation of such large agreements to make sure that, they are also, what's the word, implementable, basically realistic, and that we can really monitor that everyone complies with the rules.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair point on this. And I agree with you. I mean, even with the global treaty, the global plastic treaty, there is now a current discussion on, even regional, approaches or agreements that can help, the treaty to move ahead, because at the end of the time, they are going to have to be implemented regionally and locally at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
As we know, we have heard it today, I mean, technology will play a big role and can help really in boosting and reshaping the ocean economy. How can, according to you, even do better? I mean, how can really data and technology plays a key role, and a positive key role in reshaping the way we manage the ocean? Lisa.
Yeah, my turn. I think this is a really, really interesting question, and I will use it to highlight one of our programs. So for us, we really have a big focus on ocean data and what we call voluntary ocean data collection and data sharing. So in our program SOSI, we try to encourage those industries that have either vessels in the ocean or that have infrastructure to collect data of the ocean. That could be, even just the temperature, the salinity, or marine mammal sightings or plastic sightings, and to collect this and then to share this with global ocean data observation programs. So this is just one of the ways in which we really try to emphasize the importance of ocean data and, of course, technology innovation.
Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they can play a big role in moving ahead, ocean conservation and monitoring the progress of ocean conservation and identifying also, challenges, which was something that also Hank pointed out in his presentation. So while you already showed, how you're using, monitoring and even, to identify, what are the next steps, what are the next priorities, what are the next key rivers. So Hank, according to you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. So for us, evidently, it plays a very important role. It allows us to create solutions and verify if they're making impact. On the other hand, it also helps us to bring awareness to the problem and make sure we can influence decision making also in the global space there. So these are all very powerful tools. And one of the things we have, it's a tool we called ADIS. It's an automated detection camera of plastic. It can actually go on commercial vessels. It's been endorsed by the UN Ocean Decade, and the ultimate ambition we have is if we can outfit this on commercial vessels which are traveling anyway across the globe, we get a very interactive heat map with real-time data of where the plastic is in the ocean and helping us again to create this visibility part and making it all useful for insights and decision making. And it is specifically this type of technology that can help monitor, collect the data, and if we scale it, That's really the insights you can provide at a level specifically for plastic pollution here to inform better and more stringent policies to tackle the problem. And next to that, there was also the part where this citizen science was mentioned here. We've also been utilizing that quite a bit for operations. And recently, during a sailing event in the North Pacific, we could communicate and engage with the community there, get these ADIS cameras on board of certain sailing vessels sailing through that Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Yeah, this is extremely valuable for us as an organization to tackle the problem, but also to create that database and insightful, set of data and modeling that we really can show how this can grow to a global scale and hopefully then influence right decision making, because the problem is real. Sometimes the data is not comprehensive enough.
Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely fair point. And how to use actually more, to bring in, citizens in also the technological development and in data gathering. I have a final question. I'm mindful, of the time that is running, and I ask participants to stay with us at least at least 10 minutes more to have time, for some final question. Just a quick point. Investments was something that was already mentioned. You mentioned it, Hank, in your ask also, the fact that you need really, an investment, you need finance on your side. From your perspective, what are the most promising approach, to financing ocean regeneration? I kind of relate to be extremely, like a flash question, like a flash answer, sorry.
Yeah, so what we do see is that the traditional financing is not sufficient at this moment. We need to work more in collaboration with the private sector industry for additional finance. Though we do see with so many challenges and sectors of the ocean economy, there's no silver bullet or solution for the approach yet. On the one hand, we do see novel financial instruments, for example, the impact or outcome-based financing opportunities there are. And we do think particularly for a project like the ocean cleanup, this could probably be the biggest gain for us, where we take the environment as, a key stakeholder. We create incentives around that, and then we can scale and flourish in this environment. So we hope to see more of those type of initiatives.
Lisa.
Yeah, great answer. I would just like to add, of course, the situation as it is now when it comes to investment in the ocean, it is still very fragmented, right? And I think absolutely Henk is correct that we need this type of blended finance, so mixing public with the private financing. But I do think there's now really much more of a clear idea that, as Mr. Sinauskas said it, the protection of the ocean pays off, right? So there's really a lot of attention now, and wallets are opening. Maybe just interesting things to mention, of course, ESG reporting and ESG demand. This is where investors are really looking, for instance, for investing in companies. But you also have these up and coming voluntary markets. So, things like nature credits, carbon credits, et cetera. So a lot of interesting things are happening in finance for the sustainable blue economy. And again, please join us in November for the Global Blue Finance Summit in Barcelona.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. So I'm collecting a couple of final questions. So the first question for you, Hank. We saw these impressive images of waste. Do you, in the course of your work over the years, it seems that cities are, the most responsible in terms of, you identified, certain rivers, certain priority areas. What do you think is the actual problem? Why do we have all this massive amount of plastic waste? And I touch it here to the second question that come, from another participant. How can you make sure that this does not, enter again, upstream, from illegal, landfills, or that it does not continue in a way?
Yes, a very good question. So, I think if we look at the global plastic problem, in essence, plastic is not as such a bad product. It does great things. However, it started with a not circular type of philosophy around it, and that has evolved into something that we're now trying to clean up. But actually in the developing countries, which don't have an established waste management system at times, they're really facing the part here. So I think overall, you know, all these initiatives about the waste approach we're doing, everything from reducing to reusing to recycling, you know, all that is absolutely necessary to solve this. And I think, you know, why is the pile so huge now? I can speculate about a lot of problems there, but of course, a lot of it's driven by economic growth that we want to achieve. And we do consider that more important than the environment in decision making. And I think that has created a world we now live in. I could go much deeper into that, but I'll probably park that there. So that's definitely in the developing countries what we see as a huge problem. Now, when we take out the trash, like I mentioned, you know, the one thing we don't want is to keep entertaining ourselves, you could say, by keep flowing it in and having to clean it all. So what we do at the ocean specifically, we see that there's a large amount of fiber plastic and rigid plastic, which is very suitable to recycle, actually. So with the ocean plastic specifically, we process that. We work on a lot of innovation also in the recycling space. And from that, we want to create products which have a durable future. And the opportunity for us there is to collaborate with partners that it also creates value for them, value for us, and we can create a system where we can keep funding our own projects with the plastic we take out, of course. In the river space, we do see that the plastic is much more diverse. There's actually quite some organics in there, quite a bit of plastics, other type of materials. And there we focused on the most appropriate waste management approach, where ultimately at the far bottom of this is called the landfill space. The highest opportunity you could say is to make, you know, do a proper recycle process and make something valuable of it. But this is very country specific. So we do depend on local infrastructure, but part of our organization is also waste management. So we go into the local environment, engage with governments, and find the best solution for the waste there. Yeah. But ultimately, it should never result in it coming back into the rivers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, important point. I mean, at the beginning, you know, when the ocean cleanup was launched, of course, there is a lot of discussion about, you know, is it really there that our priority should be in collecting the plastic? Shouldn't do, I mean, it's important that, of course, you know, we connect it to the upstream work. And as a WWF, sometimes we say we work, you know, to make ourselves, you know, useless in a way, you know, so that, you know, they don't need us anymore. So that's,
it is our main ambition to get out of this business as soon as possible.
Exactly. But, you know, we still want you in the business. And last, you know, question to both of you, actually. Do you have any advice, you know, for new entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs? I mean, Hank, Lisa, you're quite young, you're into the business, you know, for quite some time. You know, if you have, you know, maybe, you know, one suggestion, you know, for the new entrepreneurs. Lisa.
Oh, yeah, I'll go first. That's great. Thank you very much for putting me on the spot. I mean, I think I would, again, like to really repeat the things that Mr. Sadowska said earlier in this webinar, that it's really important to focus on the opportunities that are there, right? There are a lot of opportunities for small, young businesses in the ocean space. Not only with public funding, but also definitely private. There is a lot of, well, let's say money lying around trying to find a home. So I think if you have a good business plan, that's of course the first step. And then networking, I think, is really, really crucial.
Thank you. Very important points. Hank, can you add another 2 points?
Yeah, so very much on board with Lisa's thinking. And what I would add to that is probably 2 statements: is think big and really find a problem worth solving. I think we need to dare to think big. We need big changes. And as we come, things will evolve. But if we have a problem worth solving, you will get attention, you will create momentum, and something big can happen. And I think, you know, our founder, Boyan Slat, is an example of that. He was 19 when he came on television and said he was going to solve it. And if you look at what he said then, it's completely different now. But the thinking big and having a relevant problem really got us as far as we are today. And I think that should be a source of inspiration for a lot of us. It was for me, at least, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing these very inspiring words and an idea. And I totally agree. I mean, when we are also as WWF in various projects, the Blue Mission Med, you know, collecting all this transformative solution, the big thing is, of course, that they are transformative in really solving, you know, some concrete problems and, you know, be scalable at the same time in becoming big. And at the same time, you know, to reach out, you know, to partners and also, you know, to get, you know, to ensure that, we get the investors on board with us. So I really close, this discussion. Thank you very much. It was extremely, extremely interesting. I hope you also enjoyed it, you both, in sharing and in sharing your thoughts and exchanging your ideas. And I thank you all the participants for staying with us until now. And I leave the floor now to Dimitris for some closing words.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gordon, Mr. Sedauskas, Henk, Lisa, and especially Stefania, all the team and the heroes that they are behind these scenes that we work together to bring this forward. Thank you for all the heroes and the organizers. Special thanks to all the audience that stayed with us and for engaging with us, for your questions. I think what we can do after uploading the video also on YouTube, we can have like this forum below with the comments for more questions or answers. There are still some pending questions that they are related to the funding, for example, or other opportunities of support for the entrepreneurs. So we are opening the forum of this discussion. Now for the next steps, our next webinar will take place in around 2 months. The focus is Eyes on the Ocean, tracking marine litter and plastic pollution. So we are going into the monitoring of the waste. So we will have more practitioners and oceanpreneurs together with us. Until then, let's keep building this momentum together. Thank you for the innovation, for the collaboration, and for thriving together for the ocean economy that restores our seas for the generations to come. Thank you again for taking up to this challenge, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.